Hello and welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LOTRO stream, youtube.com/Lord of the Rings/live, and facebook.com/LOTRO. I am Lord of the Rings Community Manager Cordovan. Thank you very much for joining me here on a lovely Thursday with a very special interview. We have got with us Chance Thomas along with Janine Geckeritz and Anita Miller, a couple of musicians who worked on the Mordor soundtrack. And the reason we are here talking to the three of you today is because just yesterday, on November 1st, we released Huge Sound Records released the Mordor soundtrack. And you, as a player, can get it at hugesoundrecords.com/Mordor. So welcome to the show, Chance and Janine and Anita. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry, it's always fun to be with you. Can I tell you a little bit about these two lovely ladies?
Yes, please do.
So let's start with Anita. Anita's a French horn player. Anita's played on several of my scores over the years. And in fact, if some of you remember the Riders of Rohan video, Anita was featured in that video too. She's well-spoken and a great player. Say hi, Anita.
Hi, everybody.
Excellent.
So, and this is Janine Geckeritz. Janine plays the flute. I should say she plays the flutes, which we're going to get into in just a minute. But Janine has also played on a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff over the years. So we're excited to have them both here with us.
Hello.
Yeah, it should be very cool. We're actually going to be playing a little bit of the music and then talking about the creation of the music and that too. I guess I should probably start with you, Chance, and say that last time we interviewed you about the release of the 10th anniversary soundtrack and doing the soundtrack for Mordor, one of the very first questions we got was, when can I get the Mordor soundtrack? And the answer is right now.
That's right. Yeah, it's exciting. You know, it's funny. For over 10 years, there were no soundtracks from this game. And now in just a few months, we've had two of them. So it's exciting. Standing Stone Games has allowed us to do some new things with Lord of the Rings Online that we weren't able to do before. So I'm really happy that Mordor is out. We just announced the release yesterday, and already people from China, the Netherlands, Germany, the UK, all over the world are picking up copies of the soundtrack. So that's very exciting.
And you can see the URL at the bottom of the screen here. It's hugesoundrecords.com. If you want to go directly to it, it's hugesoundrecords.com/Mordor. And we'll put a link to that in the chat as well, so I'm sure that should be pretty easy to find. Additionally, it's linked over on Facebook, LOTRO.com, Twitter, and all over Chance Thomas's and Huge Sound Records social sites as well. So, all right, so we have introduced the guest, the flautist and the French horn player, and we are going to actually, I guess, delve a little bit into one of these tracks. Why don't we set that up a little bit?
Let's do it. So we're going to be talking about a song on the album called After the Fall. And let me give you some background to this track. When I first sat down with Chris Pearson on the phone and we started talking about the Mordor as Lord of the Rings Online was going to present it, I got a description of all the key areas that were going to be in it. And Dor Amarth really stood out to me. And I saw the visuals for it. And I thought, this is it's desolate, it's eerie, it's creepy. And yet, everything we do is still Tolkien. So no matter how dark, no matter how oppressive, no matter how ugly, there has to be this reaching for light. There has to be this thread of beauty that goes through it. And I thought, oh man, how can I do that? How can I create something that sounds eerie and creepy and ugly and yet beautiful at the same time? And I had this idea that I wanted to bring in Janine and have her play on the bass flute some low pedal tones, and then also do some overblown harmonics and bring in a couple of different bass flutes so that you could have a little bit different tone, and then also bring in the alto flute. So with that intro, let's segue, and we'll let Janine tell you a little bit about that recording session.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Janine, for joining me. I play the flute myself, not professionally, but I do play myself, and I have actually played an alto flute and a bass flute. And I recall that playing the bass flute in particular was really difficult because it involved a lot more breath. Your lung power, frankly, has to be stronger than on a traditional, say, transverse C flute.
That is right. The larger the instrument, the more air power it takes. And I don't particularly play the bass flute as often as I do the alto and certainly the C flute. And generally, when I come into a recording session, there's a music stand with music on it. There was a music stand, but there was no music.
Nothing.
Nothing. And
Just
so
the concept.
Chance just said, okay, start doing some low notes and some overblown and some creepy sounds. And so I had these flutes on my lap.
Oh, cool.
And I just started making some low sounds.
This is the bass flute she's playing right now.
And I just started doing some experimenting, and it was very interesting because Chance is in his booth and I'm out in the studio, but he has a camera on me. And he said a few minutes in, he could just see my head go down and my eyes closed. And I started getting in this groove of creepiness going across this vast, desolate area.
Totally zoned out. Or zoned in.
Yeah. And so we started experimenting with some different sounds. Chance would have me record and then silence. Record, silence, so that he was able to take two bass flute lines, an alto flute line, with some crazy sounds, and he overlapped them, and he did the composition with the different sounds that I had put together.
Oh, that's very, very cool to hear that and see those instruments themselves. One of the things that's always fascinated me about the bass flute is that, and for those who just saw our video, it kind of loops back around on itself, and the reason for that is because it needs to be so big. Yeah, your arms simply couldn't reach otherwise. So
right.
It's like playing a sprinkler pipe.
Yeah,
right. So you get a curved head joint. It's very awkward. The balance is different.
Yeah.
But it's this really great sound for Lord of the Rings, and especially for the Mordor series.
Oh, that's incredible. So it was cool, Jerry, because initially I thought, okay, I'm just going to have these individual pieces of flute play one after another. And that sounded cool. But when I got all of the different stuff together, I thought, I wonder what it would sound like if I stacked some of it on top of it. Yeah. So I found these different little pieces, and I'd stack two bass flutes and one alto flute as if they were playing in a trio, and threw a little reverb on it. And dude, the sound.
It's creepy.
It is.
It's creepy. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Kind of ethereal a little.
So I think you've got a little clip of that you can play.
All right, we're going to cut to that clip with some screenshots from our Mordor in-game footage as well. We'll be back in just a second.
And this is the clip that has just the flutes, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. It was really cool. We got that background, and then I wrote the piece of music to that backdrop, which, tended to suggest a certain melody. And started the melody with the low strings. That was cool, but then I wanted to take it to a little bit darker place. And that's where Anita comes in. Anita and all of her friends. We had a 6-piece horn section. And Anita's played on several of these scores. And why don't you talk a little bit about the French horn and some of the experiences that you've had with Lord of the Rings and what we did for this particular piece?
Well, we love playing for Chance because he writes great horn lines. And
He didn't write my line, though.
I know.
That's because you're not a horn player.
Because you can actually think of these wonderful things, but to get 6 horn players to improvise on the spot and be on the same wavelength.
Oh, that I got to try. 6 horn players improvising simultaneously.
It's crazy enough. It just might work. But what was great is like all the players in his section are amazing. Okay, and everybody has a special talent. And then when we all get together, we're real supportive of each other, and we kind of egg each other on. Mm-hmm. So of the lick that we're going to talk about in a minute, we have one horn player who just eats low notes for breakfast. Can play lower than the trombones and is just an animal when it comes down there. Mm-hmm. And so when we were playing this line, we all basically just tried to match up with him.
Yeah.
And just kind of make this big, rattly, ominous kind of thing.
It's got this raspy resonance to it that you don't get from the trombones. You don't get from a synthesizer. You only get it from the horn in that register.
Yeah, when you try to get it with the trombone, it can get a little too nasally directional, whereas this just kind of envelops.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of enveloping sound of like the approaching creepiness. The call from far away and things.
Right.
But it's more, I think.
Right now, do it with a little bit edge on that second note.
I know. Sitting for like 20 minutes and then playing is not the best, but
understood.
That
nice.
high,
yeah. I see what you're saying because you often think of the French horn as a very pure sounding horn, and as opposed to say a trumpet or a trombone, which you can often kind of with your embouchure sort of get a more dissonant sound. But you've really been able to accomplish a very dark sound out of that French horn there, and it sounds almost in some ways like a war horn, that what you might see in Mordor.
Yeah, so. A war horn actually singing a melody. So do you have a clip of that, Jerry, you can play?
I do indeed. Again, we're going to cut to the other scene here, and we will play a clip of that.
So, Jerry, do you have any follow-up questions at all for either Anita or Janine?
I guess I myself am an amateur musician as opposed to a professional one, and being able to work on a game soundtrack must be very, very cool, because not only do you get to do scoring and all that sort of thing, but you get to sort of bring a digital world to life like that, as opposed to a concert, which you are certainly playing a lot of music, but it's not necessarily set to something. So that's got to be kind of interesting to sort of see the way that gets in game and how it blends with the rest of the emotions that the digital world brings to really enhance the music and thus enhance the game. It's very symbiotic in that way.
And what's interesting too is like we play a lot of concerts, and when I talk to a lot of people, sometimes when you talk about a symphony or talk about this, they've never heard it, they don't know what it is. But when I found that like, oh, we were playing on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, they're like, I love that game. Wow. It's like, so I have a niece who I was okay until she found out I played on this soundtrack. Now I'm like the coolest aunt ever. But it's actually been a great way to kind of relate people that aren't that familiar with classical music into introducing them into some wonderful music that happens to be in a video game. Yeah. And then from there, that can expand their world to so much other types of music that it's just really great to listen to. Right. And it's really great to see happen.
It's like the Video Games Live concert tour, gets kids into the concert hall, they hear the symphony, and maybe they want to come back and hear something else, right?
When was the last time they watched a symphony? Or listened to a symphony?
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much, Anita and Janine, for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Are we going to play a full song?
Yeah, let's let them hear the whole tune now, this track, After the Fall, and they can hear how the flutes, the horns, and everything else came together to tell this story of this part of the world after Sauron's fall.
Okay, back in a minute. So welcome back. How cool was that? Very, very nice. After the Fall, one of the songs that's available on the Mordor Soundtrack, which you can get right now at hugesoundrecords.com/Mordor. Additionally, the 10th anniversary soundtrack is still available as well there, Chance, so you can get both of those off of hugesoundrecords.com. Understand, though, we're not just here to talk music.
Right. Let's talk about my jacket.
That's right. I actually love that jacket. It's very, very cool. Yeah.
That's funny. You know, both of the musicians came in dressed in black, and I did have a black jacket on too. But I've also got this fun jacket at the studio that I picked up. It just reminds me of old style video games and music, sort of all wrapped into one.
Absolutely.
Can you kind of get that flavor from it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. I like it very much. So tell me a little bit about Ever On. This is a new song, a new video.
This has surprised everyone who has reviewed the album, or people who've gone through on the website and listened to the little snippets. They get to Ever On and they're like, what the heck? So I want to tell you some background about this song. Of course, Ever On, the title, comes from Tolkien's classic poem, "The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began," etc., etc. And years ago, I was driving home from a game developers conference in San Francisco, and it was late at night. I was driving through the middle of California, and that poem was going over and over in my head because I wanted to find a melody that would match it. And I came up with this little melody, da 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 da, and that has a nice lilt to it, you know, which sort of puts it in the Shire as a place to start. And as I spent the next several days running that melody around in my head and thinking of different arrangement ideas, I had, you know, the sound of a penny whistle come to my mind. I had the sound of a fiddle. Some guitar, and all these things have been in my mind for all these years.
Yeah.
Finally, with the Mordor soundtrack, I wanted to create a credits song. You know, you go to the movie, you watch the movie, and then at the end there's the credits song. Or, you know, you play the game and you pull up the credits and there's the credits song. And I thought, what a better way to end 10 years of being continuously live and start Mordor and the next 10 years with this idea that the road goes ever on and on. So that's the story behind the song.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. How far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can. Ever on, ever on, pursuing it with eager feet, till it joins some larger way. Many paths and errands meet, and whither then what can I say? Ever on, ever on, ever on. Mordor where it began. How far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can. Ever on and on.
Welcome back. Very, very cool. I understand you have that video also available on your YouTube page. Is that correct?
That's right. So I want to tell you a little bit, another background story about this video. Do we have a few minutes left, Jerry?
Oh, sure, sure.
Awesome. So I auditioned probably a dozen different singers before I found somebody who could convey the story in a way that told the lyrics, but had a little bit of a modern pop sensibility. Man, I ran the gamut. I had a guy come in and sing in a very old style Celtic voice. Didn't quite work. I had, a rock singer come in, didn't quite work. But David Osmond, who's the guy who you see there in the video, came in and I just think there's such a genuineness. There's such it just felt right to me. Do you like his voice, Jerry? Do you like?
Oh yeah, it sounded excellent. And you're right that it really fits. It straddles the line between, say, modern and but yet has enough of the sort of old
country.
Yeah,
feel,
exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
Good. So, and Todd DeMel, who's the art director over Lord of the Rings Online and has been for years, had such a blast putting this retrospective together. He wanted to carry the player through this video from literally, the door, right? Bilbo's door in the Shire, all the way to the Black Gate of Mordor, so that players could see this journey they've been on. And then, of course, the story continues at the end as we get to the Black Gate. I love the video he put together.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I think that's just about going to wrap it up for this interview here, but we do want to just remind people again that as of November 1st and moving forward, you can pick up the Mordor Soundtrack in MP3 format from hugesoundrecords.com/Mordor. Again, hugesoundrecords.com/Mordor, and hugesoundrecords.com does also still have the LOTRO 10th anniversary soundtrack as well, if you're interested in that. So, so what does the next couple of months see you doing, if you can talk about any of it?
Sure. So, I'm actually starting work on a new score for another video game. It's not a competing video game, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. Defense of the Ancients, otherwise known as Dota 2.
Yeah.
And we're exploring some new technologies with that, so stay tuned. New technologies in how music is delivered, which could be really interesting. And then the usual film stuff, commercials, just produced an album. In fact, Janine, who was on the show earlier, we just released her solo album called Come Dream With Me, which is, it sounds fantastic too, if any of your players wanted to go look that up. So keeping busy, having a good time, Jerry.
And where could they get that album? That's on Sound?
So just like Mordor and LOTRO, you can go to iTunes, you can go to Amazon, you can go to her website. Again, the album is called Come Dream With Me, and it's a great listen.
Great. All right. So Mordor Soundtrack, it's out. you can have it right now. Again, hugesoundrecords.com/Mordor. Thank you so much, Chance, for joining us here on Court of the Rings again, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with you again in the relatively near future.
It's always a pleasure, Jerry. Bye-bye.
Ah, there we go. Okay. Hey,
Jerry,
hey,
you're
hey.
muted.
Yep, I know. Hello. How's it going? Someday I'm going to get that right, aren't I? Nonetheless, I was just pointing out that as people have noticed in chat, I am indeed clean-shaven-ish. And I ate so much candy in Halloween, all my facial hair fell out. No, so what is going on is over, I do Extra Life on the Lord of the Rings side, and on the Dungeons & Dragons online side, I do Movember. And so I start off the month clean-shaven and grow just a mustache, which ain't a good look for me, but I do it anyway, every November. So this year, the LOTRO community gets to feel the pain of watching me grow a really terrible mustache through the month of November as well. I'm not going to solicit donations from the LOTRO community on this, although you are, of course, welcome to donate if you want to. And you can just find info on that on the Dungeons & Dragons online side. I lost my dwarf powers, so I don't know that my beard would pass dwarven muster even under good conditions. It's not nearly long enough, not nearly robust enough. I'm gonna have to stop shaving for, trimming it for a year or so, I think, before a dwarf would call it good enough. So. All right. Well, anyway, hey, that was awesome. That was very, very cool. Thank you, Chance, for joining us for that interview. You can find that video on his YouTube page. Someone posted a link to that in Twitch chat. For the archive on YouTube and such, I am going to post a link to the video. The video is on, I think it's Huge Sound Records YouTube page, unless it's Chance Thomas's YouTube page. I can't remember now. So there we go. I am not 3'7". I will let you know I am a full average, 5'8", something like that. I look 18 without the beard. People say that. It's the gray. I get rid of the gray, and all of a sudden it's like I look younger. But it also. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it, but overall, I prefer having a beard. I think it adds a little facial definition and frankly, maybe makes me look a little better, but there you go. No, King Asha, I've not seen that particular streamer. Gonna need to see my ID. I haven't been carded in quite some time. I actually went to a concert on Monday where they were doing like wristbands because they had some people under 21. They didn't even ask. They were just like, here, let me see your arm. Alright, so I guess, not too many 21-year-olds have gray hair. That's the trick. So if you want to sneak in and you're under 21, just have gray hair, and then you're good. So. All right, so what am I doing today? I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm just, I was interviewing Chance Thomas. That's what I'm doing today. And now I'm on Landreval. I've got a guest with me, Druid's Fire. And let me bring up my audio. I didn't want it to bleed through into the sound, so I turned it down a little bit. Presumably you can hear me now, Druid's Fire?
I've heard you the entire time, Jerry. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Appreciate you being here. Where am I? What am I doing? I don't know. I never know what I'm doing when I start this stream. One would think I'd be more prepared, but, you know.
No, that's a song from The Lion King.
You guys are giving... I don't have room for all that stuff. You guys are giving me too much mail. I literally do not have the inventory space to hold all that stuff. I appreciate it, but, you know. Maybe folks need to not email me so much. Or in-game mail me so
you're
much.
almost what level?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're almost level 40, so most of that stuff you can start using. Oh, you need to do that one. You totally need to do that one. The one with all the food.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you get the vegetarian title.
Oh, okay, okay, that's cool. Well, I will definitely have to save it then, but I don't have room in my inventory to keep all that stuff, so I'm going to need to find someone I can sell, repair, what have you, for. Let's see.
There's a provisioner healer up here by Glen.
Yep. Started to have gray at age 12. Wow, there you go. Nice. Yeah, we don't have anything to announce regarding our future work with Chance Thomas, but, we like the guy. He seems to like us, so, we'll see what happens there.
What do you want?
That's a nice pretzel you got there.
It's a nice what? Oh,
Pretzel.
yes, yes. Oh, I don't even know what to do with all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hit 40 today, but when you do, you'll be able to clean out a lot of that junk.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, you sold a key. Shame on you.
What can I say? I'm Mr. Moneybags. I don't need to worry about it. Yep. I should actually update my stuff, although, like you say, I'm close to hitting 40, so I probably don't need to worry too much about that sort of thing for now. I did see a couple of... Yeah, here we go. Faction items there. Mathom items. Okay. Cool.
I mean, if you don't want, you can always send, the crafting mats and stuff to me. I'll use it.
But that involves work. That involves me not showing up on the day, 2 minutes before I stream and go, oh man, my inventory is awful. Alright, so...
You had a half hour while the interview was playing. That wasn't live.
Yeah, well, you know, what can I say? So do you want to help me find a guy named Gersmat?
Yep, I know exactly where he is.
All right.
Last week.
All right, let's do. I assume we're riding there. Yep.
Yeah, well, unless you want to take a half hour to get there. So I will warn you, I'm on my gaming laptop, which doesn't have the really awesome left-handed.
Oh yeah, you're at a big competitors conference that might be related to a thing that happens in the winter.
I don't know. It looks very familiar based on the landscape around here, because it's very wintry, shall we say.
Yeah, yeah. So having fun out there?
Oh, heck yeah. I was hanging out with all my friends and had one of the developers dye my hair blue.
Nice. Can I please forward forum feedback on Dungeons of Nereban instance to the devs? I have been. I will continue to do so. We did do that, a little bit of work on Dungeons of Nereban. it sounds based on community feedback that you folks would like us to, especially on Tier 2, make it even a little bit less challenging. So that's something we can look into. Yeah, you are a little quiet, Druid's Fire. Let me use our newfangled I can turn you up thing. See if that helps.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yep.
I'm also in a hotel, so I'm trying not to shout and wake up the neighbors, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. You're over in California, so it's morning there, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah. I went to Disneyland for Halloween. Oh my god, that was awesome.
Nice. You went to... Oh, yeah, that's right. You went to
Everybody
Disneyland
was
for
dressed
Halloween. Yeah, yeah. Nice.
Like, not only were, like, the cast dressed up, but everybody who was showing up was dressed up, so it was pretty gosh darn cool.
Can I tell us what changes have been done to the raid on Bull Roarer for this weekend build? No, I cannot, unfortunately. I'm not on top of what has been changed for this weekend's build. Tiber would be the one to ask that. She'll be posting up release notes for Bull Roarer probably on Friday, I'm assuming. And we'll have that information then. But I don't personally know. I'm just going to assume it's the standard, polish and other updates. But specifically what that means, I don't have good info for you, sorry.
Can you kindly change out of DPS 10?
Yeah, I could. Well, you think I should be in Resonance to heal ya?
Well, that would be very helpful.
Yep. Any info on class balancing? Nothing really new to report from what I talked about last week. It is on our agenda, both short-term and long-term. Will High Elves get any more additions/changes? Perhaps those Elf Heralds for captains? I can't think of any significant overhauls to the High Elf that are in the works short term. But I can double check on that and see if there are any changes. So, in particular, you want... Well, actually, what do you mean by Elf Heralds for captains? Do you know what specifically you want done there?
Well, Elf Heralds right now have human heralds, so Elf captains.
Oh!
They have a human herald.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I want a pretty elf boy herald, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I remember that. I've seen a bug on that, so I'm sure that will get worked on. I don't have an immediate time frame for it, but I remember seeing a bug on that. Yeah. Yep, PVMP update, planned for either 21.3 or 22. That sounds accurate. It's up to Vastin to do that work and get it checked in and have it all work out. So you'll know when it's in the notes and that. But yeah, that sounds about right. Bumble's Bounce 13 wants us to move on to Dwarves and Hobbits. I do know that is next. I don't know what the status of that work is. I actually missed our weekly LOTRO leads meeting yesterday because I was doing an interview.
How dare you?
Yep. When will High Elves be available in the store? In our FAQ, we list that as available in Update 22. If it ends up being earlier than that, then we will announce it at that time. Is PvMP work going to be delayed? I have not heard of any plans to delay PvMP work. I don't know that we have formally committed to a specific time frame on it, but, you know, it roughly it'll probably be either 21.3 or 22. When is Update 22 being released? Next, after 21.3 and maybe a 21.4. I agree, Xanthor. Having the ability to drop a waypoint on a map would be pretty useful. I don't know whether our tech supports that. Presumably it would take some work. But it looks like maybe the plugin community has solved that problem for you already. Gel 5, I can pass the suggestion along to make signets bound to account. I think in general, you know, people prefer bound to account. I also don't know this comment from YouTube, whether it is intended that the male High Elf only have one Sindarin battle cry. That doesn't sound right to me. But it may be just a issue when they did the recording, that one of them had to get pulled or something like that, so... I know, there's definitely an interest in having all mounts be bound to account, but I believe there are business and other reasons that have overruled that suggestion. There he is. Our Huns, aid me now! Man, even the game is calling me a noob. The name of my character is Dwinstrel, the Dwarven Minstrel. Alright. It's not just revenue, although yes, I'm sure that that is part of it. It's also a matter of, you know, you make something bound to account, you get it once and you never have to get it again, which is generally great if you're a player, but it doesn't always fall in line with design wants. Does any SSG employee other than me read the forums? Yes. Oh, the PVMP forums in particular. Well, I could tell you Vastin's been reading them lately, because he's got that thread up and, is doing some work, or is in the process of doing some work, at least, on that. But as with anything, it's a mix. Some people read it, some don't. It depends on the person, the quality of the feedback, historically, kind of how much abuse they've had to endure, various things like that, Will the next raid be fully tested T2C by the devs to know whether the raids are actually completable on release for once? Previous Cody's dev here. Yeah, I mean, we'll be testing it. I mean, I know there, Dungeons and Narrowband is getting a lot of hate, even though it's not a raid, but, it was completed on day one by players. Alright, we could probably switch to horses now, can't we?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Actually, you know what, though? There's a bunch of wargs on the lake there. I want to get my... Yeah, get my deed, or whatever. But yes, I mean, we are even more so than the devs doing the testing, and yeah, we do have play days and do test all that stuff out. These bull roar previews of the raid are really good for getting practical feedback from a much wider group as well. So, if T2C is something that you are particularly interested in making sure get balanced appropriately, please do download the Bull Roar client, check out the raid, and get your feedback in early if you can. Does it feel different playing a dwarf without a beard? So I deliberately went for a fairly short beard on this dwarf, rather than one of those, super long ones.
My lady dwarf has a super long beard, and it's magnificent.
That was one of the things that I was not prepared for when I started working community work here, is the challenge of, should we have playable female dwarves in LOTRO?
We do have playable female dwarves in LOTRO.
Yeah, I mean, more, I guess, graphically delineated female dwarves in LOTRO.
Y'all should hire Linda Carlson to come back and do dwarves for you. She can do some good art for you.
I mean, I know it's a very controversial thing, but I'm down for. I support the folks who think that we should maybe do a little more work there. I don't really quite understand why we don't. Well, actually, I do understand, but...
CE1969 asked about, have you thought about adding elk mounts? Well, there's some on Borrower right now.
Indeed.
So I'm really happy to see that finally, after how many years of campaigning on the part of Finson and company, there will be a white hair in-game, a bunny rabbit.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's for those who weren't paying attention, that is a bit of a spoiler, but yes. We are indeed bringing, I believe, not bunnies, but they're called like hares, right? H-A-R-E?
Yep. Yeah, well, one of my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoons is called Long-Haired Hare. So yeah, it's bunny rabbit. Teller Station, that would be me, Druidfire. Hi!
Pretzel of Death needs to be a Hobbit cosmetic. I support Pretzels of Death. With a set bonus if you have cheese dip.
Well, y'all need to have the devs put in some cheese dip recipes because there are none.
Yep. Well, you know. For some, if I could go back in time and convince Tolkien to add cheese dip to the main storyline somehow, then maybe it would be a little easier to do.
Well, you just say, you know, hey, Maid of Lines, you're pretty cheesy. That's lore specific. Yeah, we can do that.
Good timing on this, by the way. We're just about wrapping up the stream. Increased rep with Thorin's Hall. What? Dowerhand dwarves with the goblins? Oh yes, it's all coming together now. While you were away, one of my scouts reported something interesting. You see, the task given to me by King Dain was to track down the Dowerhand's last refuge. The scout seems to have found it, as there were a large number of Dowerhands around an old dwarf fortress called Gabilizan. But that wasn't all he found. 2 figures rode up to the fortress. One was a dwarf, the other a cloaked figure. At first he didn't know what he was seeing, but when all the Dowerhands stopped what they were doing and cheered, he knew the dwarf could only be one person, Skorgrim. Now, with what you've told me, the other figure with him must have been a ring wraith. It would seem our 2 tasks are but one, friend. Slightly better DPS on the Doom of Gurzmat as opposed to Ladgris. Yeah, guess we'll go for that.
I would be grateful for your assistance.
Enter the secret dwarf fortress. Oh, we need to get the plans first. Westerly of the 2 passes, that gate entrance to Yorbar. Okay. Cool, well we will take care of that next week here. Let me see if I've got any kind of final questions.
Yeah, Bookworm, he's got once he dings 40, he'll have a will-based weapon. A mace that I called Quack because that's just way too damn funny for me. It's a multi-layered pun.
Any news about the producers letter? No. Well, it's slight news, and that is that in that Leeds meeting yesterday, we did put together a set of bullet points of what we might include in the producer's letter. So we've made a little bit of progress, but I overcommitted ourselves by saying that it would be out sooner than it actually will be. Sorry about that. I need a will-based weapon, not a might-based one. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Well, when you ding, you've got one in your mail.
Yep. Sorry, Serval, I don't know the answer to that one. Can we expect some new mounts to come with the raid? I don't actually know what our itemization plans are for the raid, but that wouldn't surprise me. Alright. And I guess that'll probably wrap it up. Thanks, Druid's Fire, for joining me. You are going to be streaming tomorrow after... No, are you? Because of your thing that you're doing? Are you streaming this week?
Oh, hecky no. No.
Yeah. No stream this week then from you. But you can find the full schedule over on our Twitch page. That's twitch.tv/LOTROstream. This archive will go up, and just a note, I am planning to, at some point, probably later this week, maybe this weekend, I'm going to separate out the Chance Thomas interview and post that up separately on YouTube as well for those who just want to watch that. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you again, Chance, and those two musicians with him. Pretty cool stuff, and I really appreciate that time. Just a quick reminder, the Mordor soundtrack is available. HugeSoundRecords.com/Mordor. And if you would be so kind as to give us a follow on Twitch, you'll be notified for when we go live with our shows. We do have a link to a Google Calendar there. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and these videos will show up in your subscription feed. And like us on Facebook, both for Facebook Live videos and all the other stuff that we post over there as well. Have fun. I will see you next Thursday for more Court of the Rings. Until then, bye-bye.